So you're looking to plan your first big outing, but you're not exactly sure where to start. You've got a few days to explore, but you're not looking to set up camp for multiple days. You want to see everything a region has to offer. Well, if you're anything like me, you want to find a route that's going to keep you on dirt for as many miles as possible. It can seem like a daunting task to plan a multi-day trip that will accommodate multiple rigs in your group, but let me tell you, there's some great tools to help you with the job. Stick around and I'll show you my full trip planning routine.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another one. Bringing you guys a different video today because I've had a lot of you lately ask about how I plan my big routes. And first I have to start off by saying every overland route has a different objective in mind. For me, obviously I'm a history geek, so that's kind of how I plan these routes. What areas have historical relevance? What am I going to see that can play into my story that I'm telling? And that's pretty much how I start planning every trip, is what history will I come across? And for you, it's likely going to be different. Maybe not. Say you're heading out to one mountain range and 60 miles away is another mountain range, and you've got a few days in between to burn, so how exactly can you connect these routes without having to hop back on pavement? And in Arizona, and pretty much the rest of the Four Corner states, there's a good chance that somewhere between the two destinations you're trying to reach, it's likely that there's roads that have never seen pavement. We're pretty lucky out here in Arizona that we have so much public land, but when you're planning the route, you might question, what's public, what's private, where can I camp, and where can't I camp? Well, the first thing I'm going to start off with is saying OnX. This is a tool that should become your best friend if you want to plan routes like this. It's only 30 bucks a year, and I gotta say it's a pretty good bargain for the tool it is. So now that you've downloaded it, let's jump into the software.
The first thing I look at on the map is whether or not I can make a big loop or find any through trails that will set me in a direction of my final destination. Here you can see my previous saved routes. I stay away from out and back trails unless there's a cabin at the end. Most of the time, OnX shows an icon of abandoned cabins or ruins. OnX offers a really neat tool called Build a Route. It will connect featured trails as well as unmarked trails. You pick a point, one to the next, and OnX does the work for you. It's really nice. It will also allow you to see elevation gain, show the highest sections of the planned route so you can plan accordingly around winter months and snow. So let's say you want to build a route from the New River mountain range with 2 days spent on the trail in that area, and then you want to jump to 17 and head towards Prescott for another 2 days. Well, the first section of the trail is 70 miles and you'll need fuel in between. What I usually do is pull out my Google Maps, check for fuel within 15 to 20 miles, and then mark that on OnX.
Now, don't think that just because you're going to be able to make it to a gas station, that means you're good on fuel. I gotta say that not every trip goes as planned, so packing extra fuel is good practice, even if it's just a couple gallons. I'll tell you from my own experience last year in the Gila when we were doing a snow wheeling trip, our route was good until we hit some 7-foot snow drifts up at the top of the pass, and we had to turn back around an extra 120 miles with a half tank of gas, and we were sitting on E for about an hour until we rolled into the gas station, and that's really not a good feeling.
So the first stretch of road is mapped out. Now you're crossing back over the 17 towards the Bradshaw Mountains, and you've heard the trails may be a bit more technical than you're up for. Well, featured trails on OnX are rated by its users, and not everyone has the same interpretation of difficulty, but a lot of the times users will upload pictures of the most difficult sections for you to judge yourself. Trails are rated on a scale of 1 to 10, but a trail rated a 4 by a standard 4-wheel drive vehicle may be an 8 for something like my RAV. Always consider the capabilities of your vehicle, and you may have to reconsider the route, especially when traveling solo.
I think it's best that you don't trust the trail ratings that OnX presents on its app. I've been on trails that are rated a 5, and I would say they're no more than like a 2, and vice versa. I've been on trails that are a 2, and since the last person's rated that trail, it's became extremely rutted out and it's far more technical, so just don't trust that. If you really want to know how difficult a trail is, my suggestion would be to hop on like a local Jeep off-roading forum, and most of the time in your area they're gonna have trail reports that are really good information. So how do you pick a banger camp spot exactly? I mean, I've had trips where my camp spots are great, and that's because I spent a little time looking into it, and others where I'm just kind of guessing where we're gonna stay for the night. It's really hard to know what the spot's gonna look like until you get there, but OnX has a 3D feature that I would suggest using more often than not, because it gives you kind of a lay of the land and what you're getting into.
Using this great feature gives you an idea if a camp spot is sitting down in a valley or up on a ridge with a solid vista.
But the camp spot you spend a lot of preparation with trying to figure out whether it's going to work or not may not always work. You could get to the top of a ridge line and have a beautiful vista, and the wind could be blowing 20 miles an hour, and it's just not going to work out, and this happens a lot.
OnX also shows private versus public lands, which is a great identifier of whether or not a trail may be locked once you hit the private sections. I try to stay in national forest or BLM land. Sometimes camping on state trust land is inevitable, but that does require a $15 yearly permit.
Obviously, like I said, we're all going to have different expectations for our backcountry adventures. For me, I just like to get out and see the history of places, but every now and then I like to get out and just come places like this where I can see the backcountry and really just take it in for what it is. Planning a route like this is really simple, especially when you have good software like OnX. But for me, I like to spend at least a week ahead of time planning the route out. And let me tell you, your friends are really going to appreciate your efforts when you're getting into a killer camp spot day after day and you're just seeing stuff that's blowing their minds. Do your research like I try to do, and you're gonna have an absolutely badass trip. One of the best, I promise you. I would say planning a trip in advance obviously has its benefits, and it's a lot better than just going out in the backcountry blindly and settling for whatever you get. And sometimes I do that myself, and that has its own benefits. So I hope this video helps you guys out some way or another when you're planning your next big trip. I know this video is short, but honestly, trip planning should be pretty straightforward and to the point. So get after it, start planning, hit the homies with your camp details, and take lead on your group. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching.